slave to our freedom.
The young brother was downright eloquent with his misinformed soliloquy. He said using nigger affectionately among ourselves takes the negativity out of the word, but that no other race of people can use it ever but us. And you thought that kind of reasoning existed only in the Twilight Zone. Then again, the Twilight Zone was a TV show, and the plight of Black America is tragic reality. Somebody said the revolution would not be televised. They didn't say anything about our devolution, which is well documented.
Anything lovely, if there's anything desirable, if there's anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that obtaineth it? The statesman proclaimeth that he have it, the ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but find it the subject that he possesses it. Evil is not requisite to man, neither vice can be necessary to be tolerated. Yet how many evils are committed by the convenience of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? But be wise, O rulers, and learn, O thou that art to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. At this time, I would like to recite the Morse American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, rocking my soul in the bosom of Abraham, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretcheth forth the heaven with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set it bound to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give honor to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who reached down into the watery grave of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, and theft, and set you and me back upright on our feet again. I'd like to give honor to the forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the Maroon Moor, who said, up, up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. I'd like to give honor to our two flags, Just So and Just So Quintus, the right of soul and the right of blood, and honor to our charter with its 10 great wonders and mysteries that gives us the right to function in these United States and throughout the world without molestation or ridicule of any kind. I'd like to give honor to all literature, which is the Last Supper given to us by our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Temple 2. I'd like to give honor to Effort. And last but not least today, I'd like to give honor to this studio here, Portland Media, because they told me the other day that they had our back here at the Moorish Voice. Strangely, they was not Asiatic, they was European. And the prophet did say that the Europeans are helping me. Why not you? At this time, I would like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran. the book of the seven seals, that none was able to open and read from its sacred pages the messages of purity and love. I'd like to read from chapter 46. And I'm going to read just one verse. The title of this chapter is The Beginning of Christianity. Now, the reason why I want to read this verse, I'm just going to read one verse, because we studied the Nicene Council, we studied the Nicene Creed, and we studied the history of Jesus. And we all know that he was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David. We know about his hair and lion's wool, and we know all these lessons, and we quote all these lessons when we get mad. And Drew Ali told us right here in verse 1 that the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. He said it was the Roman nations that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So we want to get into this later on, because I have a real lengthy subject matter today. And I'm going to start off my subject matter about intelligence. We're going to deal with intelligence and being what we know and not what the Book of Man have told us. You know, my mother had a cookie jar in the house. And what I used to always do, I go in the pantry and I go into the cookie jar and steal some cookies. But at 5 years old, I did this. But at 5 years old, when I went in the cookie jar, before I went there, I looked to see were my sisters around or my mother around, because I knew that I should not have been gone into that cookie jar, because I was given instructions not to. Now, let's get down to some science now. I want to get down to some science now, because on this show today, I'm going to tell my story. They said when you come on this media, you're supposed to be telling the people about your story. But it's hard for me to tell you about my story, because you might run up out of here because of the things that I've experienced in my lifetime. But I want to go back when I talk about the cookie jar. I want to go back because we was into some things. I got a lot of questions that was given to me this week, and I'm going to talk to them here in Portland media, because I want my Portland listening audience to hear what I got to say, because I'm going to tell you something that's going to be good for your growth and your development. Now let's start here. Let's go back to Penn State. Penn State had a football team. And Joe Patino and whatever these names is, some of them went to the penitentiary. They went to the penitentiary because the football players said that he was doing some things that he shouldn't have been doing with them. Let me share this. When I was 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, in the community on which we come up in, we was taught certain things. Things that you do and things that you don't do. And what's so strange is when you talk about Patino and Penn State and these ball players, they do 21, 22, and 23 years old. Well, 200 or 300 pounds. They lift 1,000 pounds. And they're going to say that Patino, you know, what he did, he molested them little children. They're not children, they're grown men. They know what they was doing. We know that when certain nationalities go out to war, they carry certain people with them, but that man shouldn't be in jail. 19, 20, 21 years old, and you say that he pressed you? I don't see it. We know what the ether is. And this is what my subject matter going to be about today, a reality check. We want to talk about some things that's going to be conducive to our growth and our development, because a lot of things have transpired this week that I need to talk about, and when I talk about them, I guarantee you we grow from it. I want to start with fasting. It was brought to us, you say that you're a Muslim, and you follow Prophet Muhammad, and do you follow the 5 pillars of Islam? Well, let me talk to you about the Moorish Americans first. We don't follow Prophet Muhammad, we honor him. We honor all God's prophets. We honor Jesus, we honor Muhammad, we honor Buddha, and we honor Confucius. We roll it. We got 4 prophets. But let me tell you something. It says, do we fast during the month of Ramadan? Drew Ali didn't bring us fasting. He didn't tell us nowhere in the literature that we have to fast. Now, he did say that the Moorish Science Temple of America derives its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad to propagate the faith and extend the learnings and truth of the great prophet of Ali here in America. So now, when I look up the word faith, faith, one of the definitions is principles. And it is what makes us Muslims our principles. The principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Not how many times I bump my head on the ground. Now the reason why I'm saying this is because you find a lot of Moorish Americans. They be catering to these Arab-speaking brothers and sisters because they feel that these Arab brothers and sisters have the right lessons, have the right signs. So you go off and be with them like you do, thinking that you're going to get some recognition. But these people say that Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet. And they're not going to change that. They're not going to change it for you. When you go around them, you say Assalamu alaikum. You don't say Islam because they ain't going to say Islam back to you. So now we're talking about mental slavery, which we now have. We also know that when you begin to talk about Abraham, and Abraham had a wife named Sarah. Sarah was never to have children. He had a handmaid named Hagar, the Egyptians. They had a child. The child's name was Ishmael. Ishmael is the father of the Arabian nation. When you look at the ancient Arabians, they look just like you and me. Because when you begin to talk about Hagar, who was the Egyptians, who was the Africans, her son looked just like me. But now, when you look in Saudi Arabia today, you don't see us there. You don't see the ancient Moabites there. And Noble Drew Ali said the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. He said Ruth, the Moabite. And he said the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, not Europe. So I want to get into that, about this fasting. Because we fast every day anyway, we as a people. Ain't nothing to eat. Look at it. We don't have nothing to eat anyway, so Drew Ali told us. He said, now, let me talk about that. I talked to a brother in one of them communities. He said, man, I'll never eat no pork. He said, I'll never eat no pork, and if I have to die, I'll die before I eat it. That's stupid. That's ludicrous. It don't make sense. I haven't ate pork in 50 years. But if I'm passing foam and I got to eat some pork to stay alive, I'm going to do that. Just like them other people say you can't get a transfusion. Some religions say you can't get a transfusion. If I needed a transfusion, I'm going to go on and die before I get a transfusion. That's ludicrous. Drew Ali said if I can get you to think, you'll save yourself. So this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about that. So we fast because it's all in our literature. We fast. We deal with baptism. We deal with a lot of other things because it came from you and me anyway. But no, Drew Ali didn't tell them all that we have to fast. Yeah, our 5 pillars is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, they got something, La ilaha Muhammadah Rasulullah. That's bearing witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the last and the seal of the prophet. And you got brothers and sisters running over there with them, not honoring Drew Ali when he tells you about the seal of the prophet. Tells you about who Drew Ali is. So now, we run over there and try to fast with them, try to learn Arabic. When Drew Ali said there's a second language that we should learn, it should be Spanish. I put on social media the other day that the brother Page here. He was telling us how Brother F. Nelson Bey, who was Supreme Grand, yeah, I know he's Supreme Grand Advisor, but he kept the doors open. Everybody want to talk about that grand body, but they kept the doors open. They kept the doors open so we have a place to come. And we was able to go there and get the literature that we needed. While talking about them and thinking the thought before I leave, I was telling the brothers in the meeting the other day that when I joined the Moorish Science Temple, the only place that you can get Moorish literature was in the Moorish Science Temple. You couldn't get it from nowhere else. And when I manifested and was a chairman for a brother in Chicago, we had a meeting over there on Milton Avenue upstairs, and I made a statement. I said, from this day forward, what we're going to do, we're going to go to all these brothers and sisters that got our Moorish literature and tell them that they got to stop selling it because they got barcodes and everything. No, boy, we can't do that. That's okay. I let it go then. You tell me you some kind of chief mufti and you don't have no heart. but I can understand why he didn't have no heart because of what he did in Chicago. So now, let's go to a second one. We want to talk about Mecca. This is very important. It's very important, and what makes me talk about Mecca now is because a brother named Nathaniel McQueen Hill. This brother had a partner named Cadillac Smith. Man, this was back in 1974 and 75. Man, them brothers had the time of my life. But man, it just made me much stronger because we were demonstrating this ether. But I want to talk about this because Sister Christina Price Bey and German Bey, see, this is before anybody else knew about any other grand body, because that other time they was under Masonicism and a lot of other things. And these are the two people that was moving around the country, teaching these lessons to our little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. See? And you got to understand that. So we had a temple in Chicago, and we were so happy because know what you already told us, that our Mecca is in Chicago. So we have to have a temple in Chicago because this is where Jew Ali is land and state. So we had a temple in Chicago, 957 East 75th Street. And this is why Lack and Nabal and them brothers, we fell out because they took sides with Sister Christina Price Bey, and we took sides with German Bey. And I want to explain this because you need to hear these two names, because I came from the grand body, or we came from the grand body of C. Kirkland Bey, because they were the only ones around. And the reason why we left there, because they said they wasn't taking the teachings of the prophet inside them institutions, and our brothers and sisters need to learn to love instead of hate. They need to try to change their ways. So the brother said, I got to go, and I did that. Now we had a temple in Chicago. And we got to keep the temple in Chicago because Drew Ali told us that our Mecca was in Chicago. So now, same thing with McQueen Hill and lacking them. We always get letters in the mail about the roof is leaking and this is taking place and the windows are broke out and we don't have nobody up here aiding and assisting, and we were sending money. We were sending money up there to aid and assist, and they were sending from Leavenworth, Mern, and everywhere, sending money. And the roof never got fixed. It was still leaking. Same thing happened in Morris Home number 1 back in the 80s. They kept talking about the roof was leaking to the temple, and we sent the things in there that was necessary to help to get the roof fixed, and the roof never got fixed. And that's when me and Page Gill fell out. That's when we get up out of here then. You don't want the colony fish, get over here. And I went on and brought somebody else back up in there because we ain't hung up in nothing but those who trying to do what the prophet said. So let me explain this. I want the Moorish Americans to listen to this because it's very important. So what German Bey did, he moved the movement from Chicago to Baltimore and told the sister, come on with us, sister. Come on down here with us like we've been doing so we could take care of you. We could take care of you and make sure there ain't no cigarette butts on the floor because the muftis ain't playing. We got your back. We done put all this kind of work in for you, and we can't keep coming up here putting this kind of work in because it ain't conducive to our growth and our development. So they moved the temple from Chicago to Baltimore. And let me explain this. We say our Mecca is in Chicago. But suppose you got somebody in Chicago, all the girls wearing rouge, makeup, the brother wearing hats and caps. They're doing everything that's diametrically opposed to what the prophet say. Do you move it from there or do you keep it there? No, you move it from there and take it somewhere where it could be secure until you find somebody up there that could take over. That's why we've been trying to find one up there. We got one now. So I wanted to share that because everybody say Chicago is our Mecca. Well, okay, it's the convention time. And all the sheiks and sheikas is on the airplane. And we all going to Chicago. But when we get out at the airport and we call Uber or we drive our rental cars, all of the sheiks and sheiks, they going to different houses or different places or different buildings. So even though Chicago is our Mecca, you got 5 or 6 different buildings in Chicago, and each one of those buildings say that this is an authentic one. What I do know, that if you're living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, if you are living according to the laws of the prophet, then your body will become grand. If you live according to hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything in harm, your body cannot be grand. So you want to know where the temple is? Man is the temple of God. And in this temple of God, they came 2 by 2. You know how they say on Noah's Ark? They came 2 by 2. In this body, they came 2 by 2. What is the 2 by 2? The higher self and the lower self. The higher self is human spirit, clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower self is the carnal self, is the body of desires, is a reflection of higher self distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. So right now, this book right here is 101 questions. We always hear brothers say, Drew Ali say he had 2 things in his hand. And this is what he was holding in his hand, but we never tell you about the back of it. Noah Drew Ali gave us the authority too. You hold it on the front. And when he gave us the authority, it says that Milliel, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Falmouth Bay. Now we have a brother named F. Nelson Bay who named his son Muhammad. But Drew Ali didn't say, don't name your son Muhammad. He said, don't name your children Ali. So he named his children that, but it was the first name. He couldn't have changed the second name. He had to keep that Nelson Bay right there, and let me tell you why. See, we always talking about slave name. And we all want to say that the slave name is Johnson, Smith, Lynch, Thompson, Wade, but that's not the slave name. The slave name is Negro, colored, and black. Because Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contains black water. That river today is in Brazil. When you look up the Negro River, it's going to take you to Brazil, but that only opens up your horizon because you see that Brazil was a part of West Africa. But through the slave trade, many, just like I was telling the Moors in the temple, when we begin to talk about Morocco getting its independence, March 2nd, 1956, see, that was a treaty with the Spanish. That was a treaty with the French. When the Moors first in the 17th century had the treaty with the United States, those of Moorish descent. Those were the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So a lot of stuff is going on there. Drew Ali told us some things. He told us that we're going to give the church and Christianity back to the European day, but all our brothers and sisters, all of our brothers and sisters that's in these top flight positions, you talk about the woolly hair again, you talk about all that, but you still go up in there on Sunday morning. You know why? Because it's mental slavery. You know the truth, but because of your slave master, you know, that mentality that you keep going there when you need to worship under your own vine and fig tree and stop serving the carnal customs of mere ideas of man that has never done us any good, but has always harmed us. Now, in the year of 2020, we're getting ready to have a census. Now, when we fill the paperwork out the census, I say, my name is Abdul Lumumba. And if I say Abdul Lumumba, even if I put an eel on Bay on it, the first thing I say, from which he come. They don't know from which I come. They don't know what nation of people I come from. But what they do know, that we got something called reparation. And if you got a name other than the one that's on the back of your questionnaire, you're not going to get your reparation. Because when you have that name and with an ill or bay hyphenated to it, then that means that reparation is yours. That means that you are those that had a national name when first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century. We take this for granted. We don't see nationality as being important. Drew Ali said nationality is the order of the day. You honor your mother. Next week is Mother's Day. When you begin to talk about nationality, you're talking about the mother. Because man, the Mother Earth gives you suck. She provides for you. She gives you the food and nourishment that you need. So that is the mother that provides for you. Mother Earth provided for us through God because God gave every nation on earth a particular geographical location on which they can trace themselves back to. And that's what we got to look at today. We have to look at nationality. Now, I mentioned last week how sister was talking about certain customs and culture and she was of African descent. She was from Ghana. And she was talking about certain things that we need to do, but the first thing she needed to do is give that religion back. Because Drew Ali said it is for your earthly salvation. He said, while we the Moorish Americans are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and our divine salvation. And let me explain this. You took my forefathers. You buried them in Vatican Square. You took on our name. You got my Jesus looking like Ricky Nelson and Charleston Heston. You know what that means? It's for your earthly salvation. It can't be for your earthly and your divine salvation because you stole something. You stole something that don't belong to you. I wonder why you're doing that anyway. Why would you take another genealogy? Same thing you did in the Bible with Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Why would you take another genealogy? Because you want that ranking. You want to be something that you're not. Remember that lesson that we gave a long time ago? How truth is walking around in falsehood clothing, or how falsehood is walking around in truth clothing. So when you begin to take on another genealogy of whom is not yours, then I'm saying it's for your earthly salvation. While we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and our divine salvation. Islam. I-S. Islam. I, self, law, and master. I shall love all men. We talking about Islam now. We talking about Islam because we need it. We sing it in the church. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. We talking about that old time religion that they sing in the church. That old time religion is Islam. Islamism. Islamism is the doctrine and the practice. See, we don't follow Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, or Confucius. See, Muhammad brought the law. Jesus taught the law. Muhammad enforced the law, and Drew Ali fulfilled the law. And this is the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecy. So now this is the end of time, the fulfilling of the prophecy. Why? Because we were 3/5 of a man. They told me that. They said you are 3/5 of a man because 5/5 is a whole all day, and there's 2/5 that's missing. And the 2/5 that's missing, the first is nationality. The first fifth that was missing is nationality, because we're the only people on earth without a nationality. You call yourself Negro, you call yourself colored, you call yourself black, you even call yourself today Afro-American. But Africa is a continent, 52 nations in Africa. You cannot claim the whole continent of Africa. And let me tell you something about you. You come from Queens, and you come from Queens. You did not walk around Africa with a big bone in your nose talking about Humajugo and Humastaka. You didn't do that. You was taught that. You was taught that because through mental slavery, which you now have. But you at least say through mental slavery, which you now have, need each and every one of you. Now let me share this with you. It's important. And I want to share this because my partner told me this. He passed form now, Lynch-Bey, Larry. And I was talking to him one day about some people. He said, man, if you get rid of everybody who done something to you, it wouldn't be nobody left. And on that same note is in the Moorish Science Temple. And us here at Temple 2, we learn the lesson through me. Because every day, somebody going to have something to say about what we're doing or how we're trying to live the prophet's law. And the key to that is just shut up and don't say nothing. Because you be running your mouth all the time and you have a mission. You have an obligation to teach these lessons to our little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. So do what you do. But what we're going to do here, we're going to teach these teachers of the prophet. Yesterday, we was on political science. We was in the community. We was in the community talking about this sister here and this brother here. Because both of them, at the 15th, they be running for a political office. And I'm looking in the paper here, the Oregonian. You know, when Bruce Bashar was on the show here, he talked about this is the paper that he owned and they made him get rid of it. But in this paper, they said historic women, people of color surfaced as top candidates. They had all the Asiatic sisters in here that's running for political office. They didn't have Bruce in there at all. But I talked to Bruce about it. He says, all right. And he explained to me why it was all right. So I honored that. This sister here, she's talking about family values. And in Portland right now, we see buildings and everything going up. And when you look outside and see who's working, you see all of them is European. Because we don't have no representative in these particular offices. So when a certain things come up, that we can get the contracts. We don't get no contract. Everybody else get all of the contracts. So we got to learn. We go to school, and we go to school. What do we go to school for? Whatever we go for, it's not political science. And we got to start looking at political science instead of psychology. We got to look at political science, again, instead of psychology. Because when you begin to talk about political science, you're talking about a politician. See, a politician is a humanitarian. And a humanitarian are those that work for the people. So we have to put somebody in the office that loves the people. I'm not talking about a color, because the spirit has no color. But right now, the reason why we suffer like we do, but we don't have nobody in political office. The sister told me, and the brother told me, said, well, if I don't win, I'll win anyway. I disagree with that, because I'm talking about something else. You don't win because you ain't up in there. Now, you might win because you got an extra vote, and the people say that you ran for that political office, but our people are still hungry. They're still starving. They're still going through changes, but I like to give honor to all those of African descent that live in here in Portland that's running for a political office, because that let me know that after the storm come the rainbow. We are in a place that they talked about you had to be out of town by 6 o'clock in that particular law that they had about sundown law. And now we have brothers and sisters that can run for a particular political office. Now, through my investigation, I was trying to find out. Because Bruce all right with me, but I was trying to find out. I said, man, why Bruce ain't get these brothers in, for the candidate, why they didn't represent him? And then I studied and followed, had my security to follow those that endorsed those people. And when I seen them, when they went home, they had a different nationality of whom that they was married to. I just like everybody trying to explain certain things about that brother who got on there and talking about all them many years. Look who he married to. Look who he got to go home to. That's why Drew Ali told us about blood. And he told us about worshiping under our own vine and fig tree. The reason why they were so mad with Obama, because Obama had the blood of you and me in him. And he had to do some things. I was talking to somebody about that today for a whole year. They, before I got up here, they had unemployment. And they carried it all the way for a whole year. That wasn't nothing. The reason why he went on and done that, because the Europeans do it every day. Now, don't get me wrong. Drew Ali told us in chapter 17 that he taught in Europe, and Claudia and Judith on a table near Rome. So we ain't talking about racism because we are not racist. We are talking about race pride because Drew Ali told us about race pride. And he said, if you have race pride, then join the Moorish Zion Temple of America and become a part of this divine and national movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there's unity, there's strength. Together we stand and divided we fall. Come good people. Because the prophet Noble Drew Ali sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you now have need each and every one of you who think that your conditions can be better. This is the field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the European and other nations are helping him, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is through the Moorish national and divine movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it was said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So nationality is the order of the day. You ain't gonna get free. Scott never did get free because he never did proclaim his nationality. Chief Justice Roger B. Tanner said all words, all men created equal, never meant to apply to the Negro, colored, and black. And I agree with that. So now, that's one of the fifths. And we have one more fifth. The other fifth we have is our religion. And I want to explain something, because I'm not going to do it no more after today. I post a picture up with a lot of brothers in Washington, D.C. Whole lot of them. Some of them been in the temple in the 60s and etc. And every one of those brothers that was in that picture, they got their feet washed when they joined the temple. Because Drew Ali said it's aboard the temple of the Grand Major Temple. It's the form of the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create those laws and customs that is conjunction with the laws of the whole prophet in the Grand Temple. So now, we wash the brothers' feet when they first come into the temple because, you know, just like Moses. So you take off your shoes. You are now standing on holy ground. So we wash the feet, symbolic that you're born again. You've been washed again. You are somebody new. But you had a brother. And the bad part about it, he from my homeboy from D.C. A brother that we was on the battlefield together a few times doing the prophet's work. When he seen us washing each other's feet, first thing he did, he got man, they're doing it wrong. They washing the feet because it's all in the scriptures, though. It's in the scripture telling about how Mary Magdalene did this with Jesus. If she did that with Jesus, then that's a part of our genealogy. But the bad part about it was the same brother that got on there, Lynch-Bey, out of Washington, D.C., Temple 71. I'm saying that because I'm on my way to D.C. Temple 71. When we wash the brother's feet, and this is what we're doing to bring unity among ourselves and the strength, he makes a statement. Are they doing it the wrong way? But you ain't telling nobody that you up in that gambling joint last night with all them chips right there. That's the wrong way. Because when you begin to talk about religion, you know, cussing, drinking, smoking, gambling, all that is not a part of what we're about. And then when you talk about trying to raise those that you all say raise, they not going to come to the temple because they done left that. But then you have brothers in our community. I'm glad he did this. They say, oh, chump, you look like you know what you're doing. You getting this money here, you doing that. And I can relate to that. Because they don't know that when you and I gamble, when you and I do all those things that diametrically opposed, we outside of what you all these say. And this is why the Moorish Zion Temple, and then some other sheep. Yeah, brother, I see what you're doing. That's why we all come together. When we get together, never talk about the issues. All we do is get together and take a lot of pictures, and so we can show them to somebody. We took pictures here yesterday. We took pictures when we was out there on the campaign trail. Day after the holy day, we took pictures when we went to eat. You know, when you're doing something, and when you're putting work in, but if you around brothers and sisters that got 5 of this, 6 of that, 7 of that, and you don't bring up the subject matter, I'm checking you out. I got you under investigation. Now I see why the sheep just say, I got everybody under investigation, including myself. Because this thing is real serious. So as of today, Oh, another thing. Brother asked me this in the temple. He said, you told us, sheep, that we don't shake hands. We press the hands of the doctors of the law. But they look at one of them videos and they see a sister talking about shaking hands. I tell the brother, we don't use piggybacking. We say camelbacking. They looked at the brother on the post and the brother say piggyback. Okay, that means that you won up on him. Don't nobody need to know about that. Listen to it. If you get that sign, you know good and well that we don't eat pork. And if we don't eat, well, I mean, some temples don't eat pork. If you don't eat pork, why are you going to say piggyback? Because you can't even poison the pig. You say camelback because the camel have more prayers than anybody. Because when they go to pray, the camel is right there. So there's a lot of things that you already gave us. Right here in the Morris Temple of America. But right now, we so far away. Every day people talking about unity. I don't have to talk about unity because we're in unity here. We are in unity among ourselves, trying to learn each other and trying to do things that's conducive to the growth and development here in Portland, Oregon. Trying to be a pattern. Because you always say, man need a pattern for his life. He loved to follow and not to lead. And the man who stands upon the corners of the path and points the way but does not go is a pointer, and a block of wood can do the same. And I'm looking at myself now. I gambled. I smoked. I cussed. I drank. I did all these things. But you know when I did all these things, what it was? I misrepresented the prophet and the Morris Science Temple of America. I'm looking at this law here. We got something called Think This Over, You More. And the prophet tells us right here. He said that that if you don't pay your dues and keep in line with all necessities, you can't even consider yourself a mole. He said your name can be excluded from the book. So you got some brothers up here just passed phone. And he was up here telling me he was a mole. He was a mole 8 years ago somewhere when he was in the junk, and he got out and still telling me he's some kind of muftee. You know, none of that. All this stuff that you have, you got to get it from somewhere and do it a certain way. You got to keep in line with all necessities. You have an act too. All meetings ought to be. Brother told me the other day. He said, man, I'm good to see you at your meeting. I heard the brother tell me. He said, because you could have been somewhere else doing something else. I said, hold it, brother. You can't be nowhere else doing nothing else. If you say you're a member of the Morris Science Temple of America, you got to follow Act 2 and be in your meetings like the prophet said. And this is why Drew Ali told us that some of his greatest followers are in the church. Because when you go to church, very rare when you see those that's into God, you feel very rare that's coming out of a liquor store, coming out of the gambling joint. So Drew Ali said some of his greatest followers are in the church. And he said that because these are the ones basically carrying the law. We gangsters. We want to be everything other than what Drew Ali told us to be. That's why he said, I've suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. Something else. We was out there on the campaign trail yesterday, and a sister was riding by and kept blowing the horn. I said, well, what was that? I know. He said, I don't know. And the sister drove up with her son. She parked and got out. I said, who are you, sister? She said, I seen them fazes over there. So I wanted to run over there where you brothers was so I could talk to you about the Morris Science Temple of America. She said, they told me I should go here, I should go there, and I should go everywhere, and I got to pay this kind of money here. And I said, sister, I don't want to talk about nobody else, but Drew Ali told us that nationality is free. Not only here, but all over the world. Everybody needs a nationality. If you don't have a nationality, you have no place on this earth. When it says, honor thy father and thy mother, your nationality is your mother. Man derives his name from the earthland. You don't have to go nowhere else. You can come right here in the Morris Science Temple of America, which is the Freedmen's Bureau. Because this is where you become free at. And you're going to get the same nationality card like Noble Drew Ali's wife had and those that was around with him. You're not going through the court and get all that big stuff. You don't need that UCC. Brother asked me in temple about UCC. I said, well, really? I can't tell you too much about the UCC. Because when I joined the Moorish Science Temple, UCC was not even in manifest. The brother that's running the UCC, he wasn't even in the Moorish Science Temple of America yet. However, his boss was, the brother that taught him was, but he wasn't. So UCC came about later on. Now, if you need a UCC, then ain't no need for the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you need a UCC, then that means that what Noble Drew Ali brought us is not authentic. Because, see, there was a brother by the name of Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass was supposed to have been in charge of the Freedmen's Bureau. But he sold out for $100 and a European woman. He could have did what Drew Ali had to do. So when Drew Ali came, he had to come with the Freedmen's Bureau, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the first thing he did was hooked us back up with the family of nations. The way you hook us back up with the family of nations is telling us who we are and who our forefathers were. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. In principle, too. See, not just in name, but in principle. Don't run around and talk about you this or you that. You got to live according to that spirit. It's a try the spirit, test the spirit, and see are you from the same spirit. So I think it's disrespectful because I'm talking to myself. Because I've done everything under the sun that I shouldn't have done in the Moorish Science Temple like we all are doing right now. I'm putting it all on me. So you know what we have to do? We have to renew our acts and amend our ways. Because the great conference is on its way. And in it is where the law will be enforced upon the great grand body. Now you tell me that you the one. Everybody got to come over there where you at. Where you at over there in that temple that you're a part of is the right way. And anybody that don't come this way, they went the wrong way. So you might can gamble. I can eat a pork chop. I can do all these different things when I come over there. But this ain't what the prophets say. But he did say again that he has suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. Now, let me finish. Joshua won the battle of Jericho. And when Joshua won the battle of Jericho, then the walls came tumbling down. Now what do that mean? Well, we know Joshua came after Moses. When Moses passed, then Joshua came. And Joshua was trying to win the battle of Jericho. And the only way he was able to complete his mission, there was two harlots, whores, whatever you want to call them, women of the night. And he brought them in. And when he brought them in, he hid them up. And then after the night, they came out and helped us overcome that foe. But when you begin to look at the two whores that helped him win the battle of Jericho, when you begin to look at the two and look at one of them husband, it's in our genealogy. So you know what? We have to understand that you can be born again. Being born again means changing your thought pattern. I'm not talking about in a scanning way. I'm talking about actually changing your thought pattern. The way that you used to do things, you don't do it no more. And you need to try to do the things that the prophet said, because until we do what the prophets say, we're going to come back here over and over and over until all our lessons are learned. We think that the plane of things made manifest is all of it. But when we leave here, we got to go through the plane of soul once we finish our lessons down here. And we ain't looking like that. We ain't thinking like that. We don't understand it like that because we don't see the spirit. That's why vanity is beyond them all. He said, weep not therefore at the calamity of the human state, rather laugh at his follies. And in the hands of a man addicted to vanity, life then is but a shadow of a dream. We vain. We're real vain. A lot of us is vain. That's the reason why the Moorish Science Temple of America is in the position that it's in today, because everybody is vain. Now, check your record, because I hear it all the time. I used to be with this grand body. I used to be with that grand body. And everybody's talking about the grand body of C. Kirkland Bay. There you talking about we need to come together in unity. How can we come together in unity? Because when you left that grand body, the only one that was teaching, even though they had those foes, because we all got foes. Every round gets higher and higher. What you do, you got a new flag. You fly your flag different. You do this different. You done change this around. You got 3 or 4 other different flags. You can't mess with those people that you left because they the same way that they was. You know, when you left them, the same concepts and ideology that they have from the prophet Noah. Yeah, okay. Say that to Cook Bay. Say that. Say they went, as I hear so often, that they went with the reincarnation. Or say this one went there. Okay, they wound up back over there. Just like Sister Christina Price Bay. Before she passed on, you know what grandfather she was a part of? C. Kirkman Bay. The Grand Sheik of Temple 71 at that time was Foster Eel. Foster Eel called, we talked. He said, Lynch-Bey, we took Sister Christina Price Bay in. Say she on the picture with the prophet's wife. So we took her in because she ain't had nothing going on over there. Everybody done crossed her and left her. Everybody said they tried to save her. We tried to save it too. But we got family at home, and we have a lot of other things that we try to take care of. We can't keep running to some other town. Keep trying to aid and assist somebody when we send you find that. So that's the same thing I'm saying to Temple 2 here at Portland, Oregon. Learn these lessons for yourself. Get your body grand. And once we get this together, then we can go out and try to meet other brothers and sisters and do something. But right now, the lesson is self. Know thyself. That's what Drew Ali told. He didn't say know thyself. He said know thyself. We have 2 selves. See, we have a higher self and we have a lower self. But you know what I used to do too? I used to straddle the fence. I play the fool by half. I'm all right with you and I'm all right with you. But I come to find out, and this is for all the more Shamar masters. You can't serve 2 masters at the same time. Some of these friends I got, that I call them friends, how can they be my friends when they got a different thought pattern than I have? They doing things that diametrically opposed. Even if you have a brother from the same mother, a sister from the same mother, if you're living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and they doing something else that's diametrically opposed, then y'all ain't close. Y'all not of that same spirit. So when you begin to talk about the body of Christ, see, you're talking about all of those that's of that spirit. And that's what we got to look at right now. Because until we do that, we ain't going to bring the Asiatics together. Asiatics ain't going to come together because you're doing the same thing they doing. You going to the same places they going. They don't want to hear nothing that you got to say. And then definitely the people in the church don't want to hear that because they living a moral and clean life, even though European psychology have taken over. But we got to understand that you cannot serve 2 masters at the same time. You have to love one and despise the other. I remember Malcolm. When Malcolm was on the scene, everybody, I don't know what's wrong with Malcolm, tell the European, I'm not all right with Malcolm. Soon Malcolm died. That's my man. Malcolm is my man. Now Malcolm is your man because through European psychology, you keep doing things that appease somebody else. That's why you can't teach certain things because you get money not to do it. But me, I was able to say that today because I ain't taking no money from nobody. I'm not working with nobody. I'm teaching these lessons because I should have known a long time ago. I've been in Temple so long, and John just took 18 years. Look how many years it took me. And I'm still overcoming. But you know what? The evening train may beat you late. I'm going home on the morning train. So what we have to do, you can't serve 2 masters. You sound good. You misrepresent the prophet. And if I said something that was offensive to you, then may Allah bless you with that. But what we learn in here, let's go back to this flag. Let's go back to this red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. When you see this flag, first thing you think about is Moors, and then you think about Muslims. So when you say that you're a Muslim, one who submits his will to Allah, one who lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now let me get back to this Arabic thing. Let me get back to this Arabic thing. Because I showed you on the back of this questionnaire where Noble Drew Ali didn't use no Arabic names. He said Miliel, Small Bay, Lovers Bay, and Former Bay. Now you got a lot of people that got more wisdom than Drew Ali today. So they saying that Drew Ali was wrong. He know what he's doing. He's a prophet. He know what he's telling us to do, and he knew that reparation was coming. How did he know that reparation was coming? Because Drew Ali told us that reparation was coming, because in 1913 he told us that we wasn't black, and we didn't start calling ourselves black until 1968 when Martin Luther King got killed. So here in the Moorish Science Temple, we are here to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. But now, we talked about fast. It might be good for us to fast, because when you fast, then you're able to talk to Allah, because the nearest place to meet him is in the heart. And in a still small voice, he speaks to us. And those who hear is still. And that's what the Moorish Science Temple of America is all about. Before I go any further, the 15th, we have to vote. We're going to go see this sister here and this brother here, because they'll make a difference here in Portland, Oregon. And this sister here, she took me by storm, because she's talking about racism, and she's talking about a lot of things that's transpiring right here in Portland, Oregon. A lot of us can't talk about that. We can't talk about that because we got a lot of European friends. But they honor you more being who you really are. They know what took place during the advent of slavery. Stop faking. You can't serve two masters at the one time. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. Proclaim your nationality. Proclaim your nationality, because everybody have a nationality except you and me. If you don't proclaim your nationality, then you're not honoring your father and your mother. And your days will not be longer upon this earth land which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. So here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we teach something that nobody else teach. And what is that? Nationality. We are hooking you back up with the family of nations. I thank Allah for choosing me, because he said he ain't going to wake everybody up at one time. If he try, then they might destroy themselves. I'm glad that he woke me up, and he had to, because I'm still around. So in conclusion, I would like to say, the need for unity is so great that it is better to unite than to eat, sleep, drink, talk, or walk. This is the hour of deception. A house divided cannot stand. And for that cause, we are preparing ourselves to become one again with our Father, God Allah. We must remember the mighty and great need for unity. We must remember the cause of our fall, and why is it so hard for this age to comprehend the resurrection of the dead. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple, know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree, the uniting of Asia. At this time, I would like to recite the Moorish American prayer, on which is our map back to the great God Allah. And I will not do it in Spanish today, nor would I do it in any other language. I do it in English, because Drew Ali brought us a different language, and there's a spirit in it. The Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.